EXT Barents Sea, dawn. A ghostly, silent world. Thick, milky fog blankets a cold, leaden sea. There is no horizon, only gray nothingness. The silence is shattered not by a sound, but by an image. A massive, black shape glides beneath the surface. A German Type 7 U-boat, a steel predator, moves with silent, deadly purpose. Its conning tower cuts through the water like a dorsal fin. Its deck gun is manned. Through the periscope lens, we see a fragmented, circular view. Endless gray waves. Then smeared by moisture, the faint, dark silhouettes of a merchant convoy. A target. The image blacks out. Sound erupts. Distant, muffled thunder. The crump of depth charges. Men shouting in German, sharp with panic. The deafening metallic screech of tortured metal as the submarine rolls violently. INT. German U-boat. Continuous chaos. Red emergency lights paint men in hellish shades. Water sprays from a leak. The hunter has become the hunted. The commander, face grim, barks orders. Take a steep. Silent running. Now. The boat groans, diving into the blackness, fleeing the unseen enemy above. XT. Barents Sea. Moments later. Day. The fog is thinner now, wisps curling like smoke. The silence has returned, heavy and deceptive. Through the mist, the small wooden hull of the MO4 patrol boat emerges. It looks like a toy, a relic. Its dark timbers are scarred. Fresh splinter marks from shrapnel mar its deck. A stained bandage is wrapped around a railing post. This is not a ship returning from a parade. On deck, Petrov, the young signalman, leans against the machine gun mount. His eyes are red-rimmed, fixed on nothing. His hands, clutching a cold mug of ersatz coffee, tremble slightly, not from the cold. In his mind, he still sees it. The flash of an exploding tanker in the night, the screams swallowed by the wind. He blinks, forcing the memory down. Below deck, the air is thick with heat and the stink of oil and sweat. Veteran Matvey, his face a road map of grime and wrinkles, listens to the diesel's heartbeat. His ears are his instruments. He hears a faint worrying knock in the rhythm, a tired engine, a tired crew. On the bridge. The commander stands like a statue. His coat is damp with fog. He sees everything. The exhaustion in Petrov's slouch. The careful way the helmsman Orlov moves, favoring a bruised shoulder from last night's evasive maneuvers. They are all wounded, even if not all are bleeding. The MO4 drones on, a weary heartbeat in the vast silence. It is a speck of fragile wood and weary men, adrift in a gray void. The fight is over. They are going home. This is the calm. Petrov closes his eyes for a second, just a second. The rhythmic thrum of their own engine is a lullaby. And then, his eyelids fly open. His body goes rigid. The mug stops halfway to his lips. A sound. Not in his memory. Not their engine. It was a low, resonant, grinding noise, like a giant key turning in a rusty lock at the bottom of the sea. It came from the port side, from the deep. His eyes meet those of the commander, who has seen his posture change. Petrov doesn't speak. He gives a sharp, slight shake of his head. Listen. A tense, silent beat. The crew on the bridge freezes, sensing the shift. The commander raises a closed fist. The universal signal for stop. All stop. His voice is a low, flat line cutting through the engine's hum. Absolute silence. The order is relayed. The throttle man pulls back. The dependable rumble of the MO4's diesel sputters, coughs, and dies. The sudden quiet is physical. It presses on the eardrums. The boat drifts, a dead thing on the water. Now they hear everything. The soft lap of waves against the hull, the creak of timber, the distant cry of a gull. And then, it comes again. Clear now, unmistakable. A deep metallic the sound of a large foreign diesel engine straining. It is followed by a distinct, hollow "see-elang," metal on metal. It doesn't come from the horizon. It comes from directly below them. Every man on the bridge looks down at their feet through the worn deck planks as if they could see into the abyss. The color drains from Petrov's face. Orlov's hands tighten on the wheel, his knuckles white. The commander's expression doesn't change, but his eyes turn to ice. The calm is over. They are not alone. The hunt never ended. They have just drifted directly over the hiding place of the wounded predator. The sea is no longer empty. It is a ceiling, separating them from the enemy. The silence on the MO4 is total. It is a living, straining thing. 25 men hold their breath. 25 hearts pound against ribs, sounding too loud in the void left by their dead engines. They are no longer sailors on a boat. They are a single organ of hearing, suspended between the gray sky and the black deep. On the bridge, the commander's hand remains raised, frozen. His eyes are not on his men but on the surface of the water. He is listening with his entire being. The metallic hum fades, but the memory of it vibrates in the air. It was close. Too close. He lowers his hand, making a sharp, deliberate gesture to his right. Starboard. The helmsman Orlov reacts with the precision of a reflex. He turns the wheel a fraction. The MO4, carried by its own momentum, begins a slow, agonizingly quiet drift to starboard. They are not moving toward the enemy. They are circling it. A wolf, scenting its prey. Int. The MO4. Radio room. Sound shack. A narrow, cramped space filled with mysterious equipment. The sonar operator, a young man with intense, focused eyes behind thick glasses, jams headphones against his ears. His world is now one of clicks, static, and the symphony of the sea. He is the boat's only ear in the deep. He raises a finger, pointing downward, then sweeps it slowly to the left. His other hand adjusts a dial with microscopic care. On deck, Petrov is no longer at the rail. He is at his battle station, behind the 45mm deck gun. His hands, which trembled with fatigue moments ago, now grip the cold metal with steady, white-knuckled force. His eyes scan the water, not for something to see, but for something to appear. An oil slick, a periscope, a trail of bubbles, any sign of the giant sleeping beneath them. Below, veteran Matvey stands between his engines. He has killed all auxiliary systems. Every fan, every pump that isn't essential for survival is off. His kingdom, once roaring, is now a tomb of hot, still metal. He listens for the sounds of his own boat, a creak, a groan that could give them away. His life depends on his ability to be silent. Back on the bridge, the sonar operator's voice crackles over the low-powered intercom, a ghost whisper in the quiet. Contact, bearing 270, moving slow, deep, propeller signature, irregular, damaged. A damaged predator is the most dangerous kind. The commander processes this. His mind builds a three-dimensional picture in the dark water. A submarine, trying to slink away. Hurt, but still armed with torpedoes and a deck gun that could blow their wooden hull to splinters in 2 salvos. He makes a decision. He speaks, his voice a low, controlled rasp that carries only to his bridge crew. Battle stations. Prepare depth charges. Set for medium depth. Pattern Delta. The order is passed in whispers, a deadly ripple moving through the boat. Men move like shadows. The depth charge racks on the stern are armed. The heavy, drum-like explosives are rolled into position. Their release levers are manned. The MO4 is transforming. The weary transport is gone. In its place is a hunter-killer, small, tense, and vibrating with lethal intent. The commander watches the water where the sonar indicates the target. He is calculating speed, drift, the submarine's desperate attempt to vanish. This is not about strength. It is about geometry, acoustics, and nerve. He raises his hand again. This time it is not a fist. It is an open palm facing forward. Hold. Seconds stretch into eternities. The only sound is the ping, ping, ping of the active sonar now emanating from their hull, a sound they can all feel in their teeth. A blind man's tapping cane in a dark room. Then the commander's hand chops downward. A voice, sharp and clear, breaks the silence. "Launch!" From the stern, two dark shapes tumble into the sea. They hit the water with soft, final splashes. They sink, dragging their lethal potential into the deep. The MO4's engines roar to life, a shocking, violent sound. The boat lunges forward, fleeing the spot it has just condemned. Every man braces. Petrov closes his eyes. The wait is 5 seconds. 10. Then the sea erupts. The ocean heaves. Two colossal, thunderous booms tear the world apart. Immense geysers of white water and compressed air blast skyward, higher than the mast, shaking the MO4 like a leaf in a hurricane. The sound is a physical blow to the chest. The water rains down, a hard, cold deluge. Silence returns, ringing and stunned. The boat rocks violently in the churning, foaming cauldron. Men cling to rails, gasping. All eyes are on the water, on the spreading circle of devastation they have created. The commander's gaze is fixed, unblinking. He is not looking for wreckage. He is waiting. The sonar operator's voice comes again, strained. "Contact lost. Heavy turbulence. Wait." A beat of agonizing silence. Then, a new sound. A low, pained, metallic groan from the depths. The sound of a great beast, wounded and enraged. The hunt is not over. It has just entered a new and far more terrible phase. The sea settles. The roiling white foam from the depth charges melts back into the flat gray calm. But the silence is different now. It is charged, electric with violence and anticipation. On the MO4, the crew is frozen, ears ringing, clothes soaked. They stare at the churned water as it smooths, like a healing scar over a wound they cannot see. The metallic groan from the deep has faded, leaving a vacuum of sound more terrifying than the explosion. On the bridge, the commander's face is a mask of stone, but his eyes are alive, darting across the instruments, the water, the faces of his men. He holds up a hand. Listen. In the sound shack, the operator presses the headphones so hard they might break. His face is slick with sweat. The active sonar pings into the void, its returning echoes painting a ghostly picture in his mind. He hears chaos, bubbles, the distorted groan of metal under stress. But no clear propeller signature. The enemy is not running. It is hiding or dying. Contact is stationary, he whispers into the intercom. Bearing 265, depth 80 meters, irregular acoustic signature, possible hull breach noises. A wounded submarine, sitting on the bottom or trying to, playing dead. The commander knows this trick. A cornered U-boat, conserving battery, lying in ambush, hoping the hunter will give up, will believe the kill is made and go home. It is a game of cosmic patience, a battle of wills fought in absolute darkness. He makes a new calculation. The submarine is blind. Its hydrophones are its only ears. Every sound the MO4 makes is a beacon. He gives a series of quick, silent hand signals. All stop. Drift. The engines cut again. The MO4 becomes a silent piece of driftwood once more, but now it is poised directly over the wounded beast. They can feel its presence below them, a vast, dark shadow in the abyss. The tension is a physical weight on the deck. Below deck, veteran Matvey watches his pressure gauges. He knows the boat is holding its breath. He signals to his assistant, a pale young stoker. With infinite agonizing slowness, the young man reaches out and turns a valve to bleed a tiny hiss of steam from a pipe. It is a calculated risk, a small foreign sound to mask their own, to confuse the ears below. On deck, Petrov's world has narrowed to the patch of ocean above the sonar contact. His jaw aches from being clenched. He imagines it, the cracked steel hull, the frantic Germans in red light, seawater spraying, the captain deciding whether to surface and fight or die in the icy dark. He realizes with a cold jolt that he is praying for them to surface. A fair fight in the light seems preferable to this silent, murderous waiting. Minutes crawl by. The fog is dissipating, revealing a wider, emptier, more terrifying expanse of sea. They are utterly exposed. Then a new sound. A deep, resonant clang, clang, clang. Muffled, but unmistakable. A hammer on metal. From below. Every man on the MO4 understands at once. It is not an engine. It is repair work. Desperate damage control. They are literally hearing the enemy try to patch its wounds directly beneath their keel. The sound is a confession of life, and a terrible insult. The commander's ice-cold focus fractures for a millisecond. A flicker of cold fury passes over his face. The enemy is not just hiding. It is ignoring them, believing them gone, or incapable of finishing the job. This changes everything. He leans over the chart table, not looking at maps, but making a brutal, simple calculation in his head. Speed of sink, charge yield. The exact acoustic bearing from the sonar operator. He turns to the talker. His voice is low, each word a hammer strike. Prepare the last pattern, all remaining charges, set for maximum depth, set interval to 0. A final all-or-nothing gambit. Instead of a spreading pattern, he will drop a single concentrated stack of explosives designed to detonate in a simultaneous, crushing hammer blow directly on the submarine's back. The order moves through the boat. The remaining depth charges, their last hope, are armed. This is their final bullet. The MO4's engines rumble to life once more, a growl of defiance. The boat turns carefully, precisely, adjusting its position based on the frantic whispers from the sound shack. It is not an attack run. It is a burial detail, lining up a tombstone. Petrov watches the stern, where the crew stand ready at the racks. Their faces are grim, sacrificial. He understands. If this fails, they have nothing left. The U-boat will either slip away or recover, and then it will be their turn to die. The commander raises his hand. The engine noise drops to a mutter. They are in position. The only sound is the frantic, distant clang, clang, clang from the deep. The sound of their enemy fighting to live. The commander's hand drops. Release all. One after another, the heavy, dark cylinders roll off the stern and vanish into the deep. Not with a splash, but with a fatal swallowing gulp. The MO4 surges forward, engines screaming this time, running for its life. The wait is eternal. Then, the ocean breaks. This is not an eruption. It is a cataclysm. A single, titanic, earth-shattering kerrumph that seems to lift the entire sea from its bed. A column of water, black from the seabed mud and white from compressed fury, explodes skyward in a single monstrous pillar. The concussion wave hits the MO4 like the fist of God. The wooden hull shrieks in protest, timbers buckling, seams tearing. Men are thrown to the deck. The world is sound, violence, and falling water. As the column collapses, raining debris and cold terror, a new sight emerges. Not just bubbles. A spreading, iridescent slick of diesel oil, thick and poisonous, painting the gray water in rainbow colors. And amidst the oil, pieces, a splintered wooden deck locker, a torn mattress, a shred of gray German uniform. The MO4 wallows in the turbulent swell. The crew picks themselves up, stunned, ears bleeding. They stare at the evidence of their violence. The commander looks at the oil, at the wreckage. There is no triumph in his eyes, only a hard, clinical assessment. Then the sonar operator's voice, cracked and raw, screeches over the intercom, loud enough for all to hear. New contact. Rapidly changing depth. It's rising. It's coming up. It's coming up. The wounded beast is not dead. It is charging the surface. Right at them. The sonar operator's shriek hangs in the air, more terrifying than the explosion that preceded it. It's coming up. On the bridge of the MO4, time distorts. The sight of the oil slick and debris, which a second ago signaled a kill, now feels like a taunt. A trick. The commander's clinical gaze shatters into pure, predatory instinct. His mind races through the tactical nightmare. A submarine surfacing after such damage has only one logical purpose: to fight. On the surface, its deck gun is a king. The 80mm cannon on a Type 7 U-boat can vaporize their wooden patrol boat with 2 well-aimed rounds. They have seconds. Gun crews, all guns. Target the emergence point, full automatic. His voice is a roar, cutting through the stunned silence. The MO4 convulses into frantic life. The whine of the manually traversed 45mm gun pierces the air as Petrov and his crew heave the barrel toward the boiling, oil-slicked water. On the wings of the bridge, the heavy DSHK machine guns swivel, their feeders slamming belts of massive 12.7mm rounds into the breaches. The sound is a metallic chatter-chunk of impending violence. Every eye is locked on the epicenter of the rising chaos. The sea there is heaving, bulging upward as if from some geologic pressure. Then it happens. The surface splits. A black steel mountain erupts from the deep in a cataclysm of white water and noise. It is the German U-boat. It is a vision from a nightmare. Water cascades off its scarred black hull in roaring cataracts. The conning tower, bent and dented, looks like a battered helmet. The deck is a shambles, rails torn away, the Wintergarten platform shattered. But the forward deck gun, that menacing long barrel, is intact. And already figures are spilling from the conning tower hatch, scrambling like ants toward it. The sheer scale is paralyzing. The submarine is a behemoth of welded steel, dwarfing the wooden MO4. It towers over them, water still pouring from its flanks, listing slightly to port. It is not a graceful surfacing. It is a violent, desperate breach. And it has placed itself less than 400 meters away, point-blank range for naval combat. A German officer on the bridge raises a megaphone. A distorted, guttural shout in German cuts across the water. A demand, an ultimatum, ceasefire, surrender. On the MO4, the commander does not hesitate. He knows the calculus. The moment that deck gun is manned and aimed, they are dead. Their only chance is now, in these first chaotic seconds of the monster's blindness and disorientation. Fire! Fire everything! The order unleashes hell. The world dissolves into a deafening, continuous roar. The 45mm gun by Petrov's shoulder booms, the shell streaking across the gap in a blur, striking the U-boat's hull just below the conning tower with a flash and a shower of sparks. It doesn't penetrate. It doesn't need to. It is terror. The heavy machine guns open up. Their sound is different, a sustained, ripping brrrrap that tears the air apart. Tracer rounds, glowing red, stream across the short stretch of water in lethal, converging lines. They are not aiming for the pressure hull. They are hosing the deck. The scene on the U-boat transforms into pure carnage. The German sailors, scrambling for the gun, are scythed down. Tracers ricochet off the steel deck, whining into the sky, chewing into equipment, turning the submarine's foredeck into a shooting gallery. A fuel canister near the conning tower is hit and explodes in a fireball, engulfing 2 men. The German officer with the megaphone vanishes in a haze of smoke and fragments. Petrov is no longer a man. He is an extension of his gun. The recoil slams into his shoulder, again and again. The smell of cordite burns his nostrils. He sees the German sailors fall. He sees the sparks fly. He sees the monstrous black hull absorbing their fury. He is screaming, but he cannot hear his own voice over the gun's thunder. The U-boat's deck gun remains silent. The crew cannot reach it. The withering hail of steel from the tiny, furious patrol boat has turned the submarine's surface into a killing zone. But the monster is not helpless. A muzzle flash winks from the forward machine gun position on the U-boat's winter garden. A stream of return fire, green German tracers, snakes across the water toward the MO4. Bullets thwack into the wooden hull. A shower of splinters erupts near the commander's head. One of the machine gunners on the MO4's wing jerks violently and slumps over his weapon, silent. The duel is asymmetrical, brutal, and desperate. The MO4 is faster, more agile, pouring out a volume of fire to compensate for its lack of heavy ordnance. The U-boat is a fortress, but a fortress with its gates overrun, its defenders pinned down. The commander grips the rail, his knuckles white. He watches the German deck. He is waiting for the moment when their only hope of victory must be seized, or they will be ground down. He sees it, a lull in the German machine gun fire as the crew reloads. The path to the U-boat's conning tower, the brain of the beast, is momentarily exposed. He spins to the talker, his voice raw. "Petrov, 1 round. The base of the conning tower. Now!" The order is screamed. Petrov hears it. He and his loader heave the smoking gun barrel a fraction to the left. He takes a breath, exhales half of it, and squeezes the firing lever. The 45mm gun barks one last, solitary time. The shell streaks true. It strikes the junction where the conning tower met the main deck, right at the open hatch. The explosion is not large, but it is catastrophic. A plume of smoke and fire erupts from the hatch. The remaining German resistance on deck ceases instantly. The machine gun falls silent. An unnatural, ringing quiet descends, broken only by the crackle of fires on the U-boat, the hiss of steam, and the moans of the wounded. Both vessels, locked in their deadly embrace, drift in the spreading oil slick. Then, a movement on the U-boat's bridge. A figure, staggering, clutching his side. Not an officer. A young sailor. In his hands he is not holding a weapon. He is holding a white rag. A rag he waves frantically, desperately, back and forth. The shooting has stopped. The monster has been bloodied, cornered, and its will to fight has been shattered on its own deck. The white flag is not yet victory. It is an offer. And in the sudden deafening silence, its meaning hangs over the water, fragile and terrifying. The white rag flutters like a captive ghost against the scarred black steel of the conning tower. The sudden silence it brings is heavier, more profound, than the thunder of guns. It is a void filled with the aftermath. The crackle of fire on the U-boat's deck, the low hiss of escaping air, the terrible soft moans of wounded men carried across the water. On the MO4, no one cheers. They are frozen in the postures of violence. Petrov's hands are locked on the warm metal of his gun, his ears ringing in the new quiet. He stares at the white flag, his mind refusing to process it. The veteran Matvey, peering up from his hatch, wipes oil from his face, leaving a smear of black and red. He looks old, impossibly old. On the bridge, the commander does not lower his binoculars. He scans every inch of the U-boat, the listing hull, the silent deck gun, its crew lying still around it, the figures moving slowly, painfully, in the smoke. He is looking for a trick, a last act of treachery. This is not a drill in a manual. This is an event without precedent. "Cover every hatch," he says, his voice hoarse and flat. "If a periscope moves, if a muzzle flashes, you obliterate it." The machine gun barrels, still smoking, track slowly across the submarine's silhouette. The 45mm gun remains loaded, trained on the base of the conning tower. Trust is a luxury that does not exist here. The commander picks up a loudhailer. The electronic whine cuts the silence. He speaks in clear, hard German, learned from tactical manuals. "U-boat, abandon your vessel. Bring your wounded into the open. Now." A moment passes. Then movement. The hatch on the conning tower opens fully. One by one, figures emerge. Not as conquerors, but as specters. Their faces are pale with shock, streaked with soot and blood. They help their wounded comrades onto the deck. They move slowly, hands clearly visible. They cluster on the forward deck, away from their guns, a huddled group of men against the colossal dying beast that was their home. The sight is not triumphant. It is humbling. A strange, shared exhaustion bridges the gap between the two vessels. The German captain is one of the last to appear, supported by a sailor. His uniform is torn, his face a mask of grim defeat. He looks across at the small, battered wooden boat that has bested him, and there is only bleak incomprehension in his eyes. The commander lowers the loudhailer. The hard part is over. Now comes the impossible part. "Away, boarding party! Sidearms and knives only! Matvey, you have the deck." A small boat is lowered into the water, cutting through the rainbow sheen of oil. 4 men from the MO4, led by a stoic chief petty officer, row across the short gulf of water that separates hunter from prey. They look absurdly small approaching the steel cliff of the U-boat's hull. They climb onto the enemy deck, moving quickly, weapons drawn, their eyes darting to every shadowed portal. On the MO4, every weapon is trained on the boarding party's path, ready to provide a wall of fire if this is a trap. Petrov's finger rests on the trigger of his gun, his heart hammering. He watches the chief approach the German captain. Words are exchanged, too faint to hear. The German captain slowly, stiffly, unbuckles his sidearm and offers it, butt first. The chief takes it. It is a simple, ancient gesture. It is over. The German crew, under the watchful guns of the MO4, begins to lower their life rafts into the water. Back on the MO4, the commander finally lowers his binoculars. The strain on his face is immense. He turns to look at his own ship. He sees the splintered wood where machine gun fire found its mark. He sees the dark stain on the deck where a fallen comrade lies covered. He sees the exhausted, hollow-eyed faces of his men still clinging to their weapons. Victory has a taste, It is copper and cordite and diesel oil. It is cold. "Signal the base," he says to the radio operator, his voice suddenly drained of all its earlier force. "Report. Enemy submarine captured. Request immediate tow and support. We have prisoners and wounded." The operator begins tapping the message in Morse, a dry, clicking sound that is the first sound of normality returning. The commander walks to the starboard rail. He watches the German sailors, now prisoners, being helped onto makeshift rafts. He looks at his own boarding party, tiny figures establishing control over a vessel 10 times their boat's displacement. The scale of what they have done finally settles upon him, not as elation, but as a colossal, silent weight. Petrov finally unclenches his hands from the gun. The adrenaline bleeds away, leaving a trembling void. He looks at his palms, sees the blisters and grime. He looks across at the captured U-boat, a Leviathan rendered docile. The image of the German sailor with the white flag superimposes itself over the memory of the scrambling gun crew he cut down. There is no clean line between the two. The fog has completely vanished. The sky is a vast, empty gray. The sea is calm. In the center of this immense stillness float 2 vessels, one small, wooden, and victorious, one massive, steel and conquered, connected by a thin, dark smear of oil and the invisible, unbreakable thread of the battle they have shared. The MO4's engines start again, not with a battle roar, but with a tired, pragmatic thrum. They are no longer hunters. They are shepherds of a strange, impossible prize. The journey home will be longer, slower, and far more silent than the journey out. The commander remains at the rail, watching his prize. His face shows no smile, only the deep, permanent etchings of responsibility and a dawning, historical understanding. They have done the impossible. Now they must live with it,